Installing C++ IDE and compilers. Now let us discuss about C++ IDEs available and how to install them, how to configure the IDEs. The basic definition of an integrated development environment is an IDE or integrated development environment is a programming environment that has been packaged as an application program, typically consisting of a code editor, a compiler, a debugger, and a graphical user interface builder. Now, the question arises that from where we find the IDEs. There are some commercial IDEs, for example the Borland IDE or some others, Intel IDE for C++, etc. But there are open source free IDEs available for the development of your C++ programs, and in this video lesson our focus is upon the open source C++ IDEs which are free to use to develop your C++ programs. We have a CodeBlocks IDE for C++. It is open source, it is free. Then we have Dev-C++ IDE. Then we have NetBeans IDE for C++. Then we have MinGW package as well as the SIGWin package for the NetBeans IDE for C++. In fact, when we install the CodeBlocks IDE for C++ and Dev-C++ IDE, then by default MinGW package is installed, and we don't need to configure the MinGW package. I mean that it is not required to download the MinGW package or the SIGWin package separately. MinGW package is the part of CodeBlocks IDE and Dev-C++ IDE installation. But if you wish to use NetBeans IDE for C++, then you have to separately install the MinGW package or the CYGWin package. MinGW package is the minimalist GW package targeted for the native Windows applications, whereas CYGWin package is targeted for the POSIX system. So we shall start with the installation of the CodeBlocks IDE first of all. In this video our focus would be to install all the three IDEs, CodeBlocks, Dev-C++ as well as NetBeans. So it is up to the student or the user to use. If someone is liking the interface of CodeBlocks, then you may use CodeBlocks IDE for C++ development. If you wish to use Dev-C++ IDE or NetBeans IDE for C++, it's totally up to you. But we shall cover the installation of all these IDEs as well as the configuration of all these IDEs. So in the future programs, whenever you develop your C++ programs, then you may use any one of these IDEs as per your priorities and wish. Now first of all let us start with the installation of the CodeBlocks IDE. To install the CodeBlocks IDE, first of all we have to visit the website of the CodeBlocks IDE. Open your browser and on the Google simply write CodeBlocks, and here you will find a link. codeblocks.org URL is there, and just click on the link and you will find information about the CodeBlocks IDE. It is open source, it is cross-platform, it is free C++ IDE, and lot of other information about the CodeBlocks IDE. You can go through the information. Now click on the downloads link, and there are 3 ways to download code blocks on your computer. All the information has been given, and we shall select the first option, that is download the binary release, and it will ask you that for which particular platform you wish to download the code blocks IDE. You may download it for Windows, then for Linux, and for Mac, etc. So our our preference would be for Windows. And here two options are given to code blocks 10.05 setup.exe, and it is, if we select the first option, that is code blocks 10.0 setup.exe, then this installation would be without the min GW setup, and second one is code blocks 10.05 min GW setup.exe. So we would opt for the second option because we want that min GW package is configured for code blocks IDE automatically when we install the code blocks IDE. So we shall opt for the second option, and click on the sourceforge.net, and it will direct you to the download page of the code blocks IDE, and you can download it accordingly. So your download will start in, it's specifying the time left to for your download. So it will ask you to preserve or save your contents. So it's showing that at which location you want to save the downloaded file. So the size of the file is 70.59 MB, so it would take some time, and you click on the start download option, and your download will start automatically. And once you have downloaded the package, then a file, that is code blocks 10.05 min GW setup package, would be available, and right click it or simply double click it, and the setup of the code blocks IDE starts. And it's very easy to install the code blocks IDE setup wizard. With the help of this setup wizard, we can install the code blocks IDE. Click on the next, you select the agreement, and select all the options, and select the location where you want to install the code blocks IDE. By default it is C:/program file/code blocks. Keep it as it is, don't make any changes to the destination folder where your code blocks IDE will be set up, and click on the install option. Then now all the files of the package are being extracted and are being installed, and it's totally an automated process. You don't have to write, or you don't have to select, or you don't have to make any changes. You simply have to click on the next option, and automatically it will get installed. So do you want to run code blocks now? If you click on the yes option, then code blocks IDE for C++, that will be activated, and for the time being we are selecting no. At this moment we don't want to run the code blocks IDE, and click on the next, and click on the finish button. Okay, now we can start the code blocks IDE, and a particular shortcut to the code blocks IDE is on your desktop. You click it, you double click it, and the code blocks IDE is running, and this is the interface of the code blocks IDE. Okay, and here we can write our programs, we can write new programs, project files, class files, empty files, and so on. And if we see the settings related to the compilers and debuggers, click on the settings, compilers and debuggers, and selected compiler is GNU GCC compiler, and lot of other options related to the setting of the compilers is given, and click on the tool chain executables. I'm again starting the menu. Click on the settings, compilers, and by default the GNU GCC compiler is selected. Here in the tabs, select on the tool chain executables and compilers installation directory. This is important that you observe here that under the C:, program files, code blocks, and min.gw, that package has been installed. And within this min.gw package, the C compiler is min.gw32gcc.exe, the C++ compiler, linker options, linker for static libs, debugger, and other options are given. So when we install the code blocks IDE, we did not set all these options. These options are automatically set for us, and we simply have to write the program, and we can run the program accordingly. And for the simplicity purpose, okay, now that's how we can install the code blocks IDE. How to write a program in code blocks IDE and how to run it, how to compile it, how to run it, we shall discuss it in the coming lessons. And next thing we have to install is the .c++ IDE. So .c++ IDE, first of all you have to download the package, and you on the Google you simply write .c++, and it will show that bloodshed.net site is there, and click on the site. Here you will find a lot of information about the .c++ IDE, its features and so on. Click on the downloads link, and we want to install the .c++ IDE. So bloodshed.c++ is a full-featured integrity development environment for C++ programming language. It uses min.gw port of GCC, that is GNU compiler collection, and it as its compiler. So .c++ can also be used in combination with SIGBin or any other GCC based compilers. .c++ can also be used in combination with SIGBin or any other GCC based compilers. Okay, so if we download this .c++ IDE, then by default the min.gw package, which is a collection of your GCC compiler, GCC compiler, and debugger, and the make utility, that will be installed automatically. So we can download it, .c++, and click on the download link. Go to download page, and we have to download from sourceforge.net. It will direct you to the sourceforge.net site, and it will ask you where to download the file, as we did in case of code blocks IDE. And we have to select the location where the downloaded file will be kept, and it will be installed. And see the size, its size is just 8.89 MB. It's very compact IDE, and very light IDE in fact, and we can download it. Okay, once the package is downloaded, then you have to click on the package .c++ IDE, double click on the package, and it will ask you some options where to install. I agree, and full min.gw old configurations, and the location, by default location is C:/program file/.c++, and click on the install option, and all the files of the package are being extracted and are being installed. It's very lightweight IDE, and you can use it for the development of your C++ program. Do you want to install dev C++ for all users on this computer? Select on the yes, and run dev C++ 5.3.0.0, and it will ask you some options related to the configuration. And next, yes, I want to use this feature, some caching related information, cache all headers. Next, click on the next link, and we see that the dev C++ IDE installation process is going on and will be completed very soon. Okay, and we see that the IDE has been installed, and we can write our C++ programs using this IDE. It's very lightweight. And now let us check its settings, compiler options. It's saying that the compiler set to configure is MinGW GCC 4.7.0, 32-bit compiler we are using, and all other options related to the compilers are given here. Programs GCC, G++, then MinGW32 make.exe, debugger is gdb.exe, and so on. So all these options are given to us by default, and we don't have to make any changes. We simply have to start writing our programs, and that we shall cover in the next video lesson. And so what we have observed is that how to install the code blocks IDE as well as the dev C++ IDE. So far we have installed the code blocks IDE for C++ and the dev C++ IDE. In the next video lesson, we shall discuss about the installation of NetBeans IDE for C++ and how to configure the Cygwin package and the MinGW package for the NetBeans IDE to run your C++ programs.